1, 2. I said microphone check. 1, 2. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Ain't nobody out here winning like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Just like me, like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Ain't nobody out here winning like me. Can't nobody out here do it like me. Just like me, like me.
All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Ace's Wild Chicago Sports Takes. I am your host, Ace, with my boy Turtle. And we got a lot of crazy Bears stuff to talk about today. If we get some time, we're going to go into some Bulls and maybe a little Cubs to talk about. But first off, Turtle, how we feeling tonight?
That I'm not gonna lie, I missed the first episode. That intro song is fire.
I mean, nobody does it like us. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, we the production value of these shows are a little bit better than some other podcasts you might watch. I'm not.
Hey, you remember how they used to be when we first started?
Yeah, no fuck. It would just be like it'd just be straight like us, just like this,
right?
With it like that.
Right, it was just so bad.
Yeah, it was terrible. And but yeah, now we got overlays and graphics and videos, and we're trying to take it up a notch, make it a little bit better for everybody who's watching. In case people have been sleeping under a rock, NFL free agency started. The legal tampering period started Monday?
Yeah,
at 11 o'clock, and then it wasn't official until today was the official free agency start. A lot of pieces moving. We watched some big quarterback names. Kirk Cousins goes to Atlanta, leaving Minnesota. Russell Wilson's going to sign with the Steelers for a year. We have Danielle Hunter, who everybody wanted on the Bears, goes to, where'd he go? Houston?
Yeah, his hometown team in Houston.
Yep, Houston.
They're going to be tough next year.
Yeah, it's going to be a good defense for sure.
And they traded for Joe Mixon.
That's right. I just read that too. Yeah.
That was a crazy thing too, because Cincinnati came out, all the reports came out that Cincinnati had released him. And then all of a sudden the next report the next day came out that Houston traded for him. I was like, wait, I thought he was released. But,
I thought you were getting released, but no, a lot of running back movement this offseason, which is weird because, I mean, I don't know about you, but a lot of people consider the running back position to be kind of it's there. You can throw anybody in there as long as you have an above average or average offensive line, and they'll do what they need to do. But there were names like Saquon Barkley was out there. Derrick Henry was one of the names out there. Some pretty high level running backs. Tony Pollard was out there. Did Derrick Henry go? Where did he
go?
Baltimore. That's right. I know there was rumors that he was going to go to Dallas.
Did you see?
The Cowboys.
I was at work all day, but did you see? I guess he was interviewed or something. He had, I think he was on a podcast or something, but he said that he never heard from Dallas.
Dude, I don't know. Jerry Jones is kind of old, man. He might be napping most of the time. That early bird special probably kicks in around 3.
He thought that there was a lot of interest there with Dallas, and then just never heard from them when free agency came about.
Yeah, that seems to be kind of the thing. Nobody's really heard from Dallas a lot this
they've done nothing.
Period. No, nothing at all, except for that stuff with Dak that's kind of been floating all around. That's crazy. So we'll save that for another show. But
another topic.
Yeah, we do have a guest joining us tonight, a friend of the network. He's been on with us plenty. Loves jumping on with you guys on Turtles Take.
Yes, sir.
This will be his first time on with us. Lester Whipfong Jr. from Windy City Gridiron is going to join us. Les, how you doing tonight, man?
Pretty good, guys. How y'all doing?
Oh, not terrible. A lot of Bears stuff going on. I figure why not jump right into it? The first topic that I wanted to talk about was free agency with this Bears team. A lot of smaller add-ons.
You can go mid, right?
Mid off, really. The biggest one I think is DeAndre Swift that they signed, which is a running back in a position that really wasn't a high need for this team. And you're looking at a team that's got holes they need to fill at edge rush, wide receiver, offensive lineman, and the fact that a running back is their biggest acquisition so far. I get it. He was decent last year. What are your thoughts on this free agency period and why the Bears haven't been in on bigger name guys?
I think they're in. I just think Ryan Poles has a price point that he does not want to go over. We kind of saw this happen last year with Mike McGlinchey. I mean, he was in. I mean, that came out that they were right there up till the guarantee came out. That once the guarantee pushed over $50 million, Ryan Poles said, "That's a little too rich for us. We'll just hold off." And they ended up drafting, Darnell Wright in the first round of the draft. So I'm pretty confident to say he's been in on some of these guys that just went elsewhere. It's just he has a price point. He's not going to go over it. And I think that edge, we kind of saw him the last year. Edge was a huge need last year, and he kind of waited. I mean, he got DeMarcus Walker kind of helped out, but his big deal wasn't until camp with Yannick Ngakoue. So I don't think he'll take it all the way to camp till he looks for edge. I think an edge has to come. Especially because you've lost some guys in free agency. You're not bringing back, so you've got to get someone. That's got to happen at some point. They were supposed to meet with DJ Wanham tonight, but he met with Carolina first, and they didn't let him leave the building. So,
yeah, the Bears are just kind of striking out on some of these high level needs that they have.
Yeah.
Who are some other guys that are out there in free agency right now at the edge rush position that would be? I wouldn't say a significant upgrade, but an upgrade nonetheless for this line.
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, the big name is Jadeveon Clowney, but I don't think he's gonna. I think he's kind of someone that's looking for more money, probably chasing a ring, and a little too old. I mean, one thing we've seen Ryan Poles do is he doesn't go after the older guys. I mean, the one guy he did sign that was at 30 was Kevin Byard, safety. But here's a guy that has had no injury concerns his whole career. He is a guy that's been at the top of his game for his whole time. I think 9 years in the NFL. So I think that's a guy that he trusted. That's going to be okay to sign at that age. But we saw him kind of bow out on some of the other guys. Right now, I mean, I don't even know. To be honest, I don't know who's out there because there were so many signings coming off the board today. No one's going to be really exciting. I mean, as Bears fans, we were like, okay, DJ Wanham's not bad, but he's not good either. He's, like I said, he would have been another mid signing, similar to what they already have on the roster. So, I
mean, this has been kind of a mid crop of free agents, though, really, right?
A little bit, yeah.
From the quarterbacks all the way down. I mean, who was, if you go through it, the biggest name in free agency? Kirk Cousins this year. So, I mean, it's really not that great of a crop. And that kind of lends itself to more like teams when they find these guys, they're doing whatever they can to keep them on the team or trade some of these guys before they can even hit free agency to get some value from them. Now, other areas on this team in free agency, we talked about they got a safety, a little bit older. I'm not really sure what to expect. I didn't watch a lot of games for the Eagles or the Titans. But I'm not sure if you kind of watched film on him. What are your thoughts on the safety?
Yeah, I mean, I watched a little bit of him after the Bears signed him. I mean, I knew of him. I didn't really get into his stuff, but since they picked him up, I had a chance to go back and watch some of his stuff. He's solid. I mean, he's familiar with the scheme. He's played in something similar before, so he's going to be fine there. He's going to be asked to play a little more free, which is kind of what the Eddie Jackson role was, but we all know as Bears fans, the Bears they want their safeties interchangeable if possible, because they don't want to keep, have to flip those guys around. So we'll see Byard kind of do a little bit of stuff up towards line of scrimmage too. And he's good at that. I mean, he's 100 some odd tackles last year. He's a very sound tackler. That was the big criticism from Eddie Jackson. A lot of fans didn't like him because he wasn't physical. This guy's physical. He will hit you. He's good in coverage. He is a good all-around safety, and I think he really takes that the leadership aspect of what the Bears are going to ask him to do to heart, because he talked about it in his press conference. He talked about it, I think, on ESPN. He did a radio spot with them. He revels that. He understands that's part of his game. He understands that's why he's brought in. So I really like this signing.
Awesome. Tight end was another need that they were kind of looking at, a backup role. Gerald Everett, I mean, he is an older tight end as well. Does this kind of take the Bears out of play for a tight end in the draft?
I think it's possible because he's obviously going to be. I mean, obviously Cole Kmet is your starting Y. This guy is going to be your starting at your whether you call it the Joker, the move, the U. We heard it called different things. Whatever the Bears call it in their system, Everett's going to be starting it there. That's kind of what his role has been. I mean, he is a move tight end, a really good athlete. Like I said, he's I think 28 years old. So I like this pickup. I've liked watching him play the last few years. For some reason, whenever I'm watching stuff, I seem to always catch the Chargers on the late afternoon game. So I've seen a lot of Gerald Everett this last year. I like the way he plays. I mean, he's a good athlete. He will run over you. He was like top 10 in yards after the catch at his position. So this is a good pickup for the Bears.
Offense or Turtle, you have any questions you want to ask real quick?
No, I mean, I just, trying to touch base on the last two topics. I think I really like the Gerald Everett move. Shane Waldron runs a lot of 2 tight end sets. Yeah. So they needed a guy that you can count on to step in and produce right away. And I think we've seen a lot of the guys they've looked at have ties to Shane Waldron that they've looked at for the offense. He was he was in LA with them. When Everett was with the Rams. 1 year Everett was with Seattle. And Everett's really good he doesn't necessarily stretch the field with his routes, but he's really tough. Usually the first guy doesn't bring him down. So I think he fits what Cole Kmet doesn't do because the wind knocks Cole Kmet down when he catches the ball. But
how much Cole Kmet hate amongst our Bears fans?
I love Cole Kmet. I really do. I just wish he could break some tackles more. But no, I think Everett's a really good move, and it only cost them $6 million a year, and they had plenty of money. As far as Byard, I love the move with Byard. I think he's a guy who's a 2-time All-Pro. He's a guy that when he went from Tennessee to Philadelphia, everybody was like, now that's what a Super Bowl contending team does. They had guys like that. So I know everybody was expecting Ryan Poles because he had all this money to go get Christian Wilkins and go get Calvin Ridley and go spend whatever he had to get these guys. But I think Lester said it right. I think he just has a point that he's willing to spend, and he's not going to go spend the money just because he's willing to go get that next level guy and save some of that money. And I don't think that's the wrong way to go. I mean, Calvin Ridley got 4 years, $92 million. That's a lot of money for a 29-year-old receiver that tends to disappear at times. Plus missed all that time for the gambling suspension. So the Bears, they're not making the sexy moves, but they're filling holes on their roster. The running back room, did it need to be addressed? Probably not. But they went out and they got a 25-year-old running back who can be a 3-down guy. He can run the ball between the tackles. He can bounce it outside. He can catch out of the backfield. Khalil Herbert's a guy that does those things, but he can't stay on the field for an entire season. So now you got a guy that really doesn't miss too many games. And we saw from a role in Detroit where he was the guy to not being the guy to going back and forth in Philadelphia, it seems like a guy that doesn't really complain too much and just shows up every day and does his job. So I like a lot of the signings they've got. I was thinking maybe one of those Chargers pass rushers would become available. They both restructured.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So Chase Young wound up not. He got out of Carolina without signing a contract. He's supposed to go to New Orleans next. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe he makes a visit here to Chicago. Maybe they're in on him. Maybe they're not. But the big thing is if you get the pieces right in free agency, it gives you a lot of flexibility in the draft.
Yeah. I mean, as far as being in on guys, I'm not sure if they're in on Wilkins. I know they were in on another top defensive tackle that signed elsewhere. Just the money kind of got a little ridiculous there towards the end. So
yeah, I mean, Wilkins got $110 million, and
that was crazy. Yeah.
90 something guaranteed. That was a deal that nobody else was going to be a part of.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to do an edge. They have to do an edge. They can, especially with only 5 draft picks. Yeah, that'll change on draft night, but you cannot go, especially with also wide receivers, such a huge need. You can't have 2 glaring needs on this roster. And I say edge is a need because it seemed like last year they wanted DeMarcus Walker to be a swing. That's why I think they want to have a starting guy, opposite Montez Sweat.
Well, and the 2 biggest positions in football, quarterback and the guy that sacks the quarterback. Yeah. And the Bears did a better job of that last year, but then Ngakoue gets hurt and it wasn't the same productivity. So it would be nice to see somebody opposite of Sweat be able to come in and hold down that other side of that defensive line. We were touching a little bit on the draft. Let's talk about, you guys put out an article about Justin Fields, and a lot of talk around the league. It's really kind of shifted completely away from the Bears even being potentially keeping him as their starter and trading the first round pick to now it's let's trade Justin. And now all of a sudden nobody wants Justin. So let's, I read the article. I really loved it. It's the 10 landing spots that Justin Fields could potentially go to. What are your thoughts on what ends up ultimately happening with Justin, and what can the Bears look to potentially get for him?
Yeah, that was Bill Ehrman wrote that article. That was a pure speculation. Those landing spots is kind of, he's looked over the landscape of like the league, right? A lot of backup quarterbacks are getting signed, so that takes places because there are no starting gigs available now. So it's like the next step is, where can he go where he can be a backup? So, I think the Chargers would be fun. I think if he was Herbert's backup, that's Greg Roman's offense now. We kind of saw what he did with Kaepernick. He utilized the athletic quarterback. The Eagles would make sense. I mean, if I know there's a lot of buzz on Twitter, there's been nothing sourced so far, but a lot of like dialed in, like big time reporters and analysts are floating the idea that there could be a trade with the Eagles. Again, nothing sourced. There's nothing going out there, but sometimes when these guys start floating ideas like this, they're getting it from somewhere and they just can't really reveal their source. So there's just so much out there. It makes you think, well, maybe there's something going on there because they have a couple edges that they may want to trade. The Eagles do. Maybe it's Justin Fields for an edge, maybe a pick swap somewhere involved in there. Maybe that happens. I really thought Seattle would be a good place, but of course they just signed a guy, or made a trade for a guy. So the options are tough. I mean, it's just the market never materialized for Justin Fields. And
do you think the Bears waited too long, that they should have tried to get him traded before free agency started?
Yes. I mean, if you look at this whole, I mean, obviously hindsight tells us a lot, but now I'm working on the assumption Ryan Poles made his decision. If his decision was, we're moving on, we're going to take our top rookie quarterback. If that is your decision, then you should have moved him as soon as you got an offer that was there. Maybe it was just too low because, I mean, the entire league pretty much knew, well, the Bears are going to take a rookie quarterback. So if the entire league is kind of sitting on the same thought process and they're like, well, we're not going to give you a 2, we're not going to give you a 3 because, you're going to take Caleb Williams, possibly. You're not going to have those guys in the same quarterback room. It's not good quarterback dynamic. That's not how you build it up here. You're going to move them at some point. So the league's waiting it out. I mean, I think he'll be moved at some point. It's not going to be you heard some 2s floated earlier around the combine time. I'm sure that was just some national insiders doing some favors for the Bears there, floating out those big numbers, but it's going to be a lot lower, and it's going to suck because, like, I mean, I'm a huge Fields fan. I want to see him have success, and it's just going to be a bad shot to see him having to get traded for like maybe like a 5th and a future conditional 4th or something. Like, it's not going to be a very, very pretty compensation package.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because this whole time I've always thought that the Bears were better off keeping Fields and trading that pick, especially if you look at what they have 5 draft picks this year. I know 2 top 10 draft picks, but you would think if the pick count stays the way it is, they're probably going to look to trade back at that number 9 spot to recoup some picks. But do you see any scenario, or, it might be crazy to think, do you think this is all just a big smokescreen with Justin, that they're ultimately going to be like, swerved, we're bringing Justin back and we're going to trade this number 1 pick?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, that would be if you look at Ryan Poles' couple years in the job, I mean, yeah, he's had some stuff out there. The Jalen Carter stuff that kind of broke last year, right around draft time. I mean, that was clearly coming from the Bears side of things, them having a lot of interest in that. And, it got the Eagles to trade up a spot. So, I mean, there's been times where he kind of played the media game, but you listen to his comments. He wants to do right by Fields. You know, I mean, he refers to him, the whole situation like in the past tense, just the vibe you get, and the thing that the Super Bowl was like, that's the whole league together. The combine, the whole league's together. Everyone's hearing the same thing, right? Like that they're going to move on. So if it's a long con, it's the greatest smokescreen in the history of the NFL.
Lester, what if it like? What do you think? Because I hear all this, and obviously the things change by the day, sometimes by the hour, but like, could it just be that it's so simple that the Bears, Ryan Poles just hasn't decided that he's taking Caleb Williams yet? We heard Field Yates has come out and he's talked about it a lot. The reports have come out the last couple of days that the Bears have not engaged anybody in Justin Fields trade talks yet, and that a lot of the Justin Fields trade hype was all just the media and that it never really had any substance to it. Could it be that, with the meeting with Caleb Williams being pushed back till after his pro day, with the medicals not being released until he meets with teams, could it just be that Ryan Poles is waiting till he sees Caleb Williams' pro day, till he meets with him, till he gets it, that one-on-one with Caleb Williams to know that, okay, yes, I'm taking Caleb Williams, or maybe he's waiting to see, okay, I'm going to stay with Justin. I'm going to trade the first overall pick. Could it just be that Ryan just hasn't decided yet if Caleb Williams is the guy?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's possible, but I mean, if it's he's a GM of the Chicago Bears. He's got 3 years of film on Justin Fields. He's had a chance to scour his Ohio State film, his Georgia film, if that's how far he wants to go back. At this point, I hope the GM of the Bears knows whether Fields is the guy that could take this team to the Super Bowl. And if he still's not sure about that, I mean, I think that kind of says more about the Ryan Poles, the evaluator, than it does, anything else, because you would think he would have that decision made. And like I said, maybe it's not Caleb, but if you're moving on from Fields and you're taking your top quarterback on your board, like the way I look at it, I think that he's ready to move on from Fields. I think he's not 100% there on Caleb yet, because like I said, he hasn't seen the medicals yet. They haven't had that long one-on-one. He hasn't seen him at the pro day, but he's not the only quarterback in this draft. Maybe he prefers Drake May or Jaden Daniels or something, one of the other guys, Bo Nix. I mean, who knows what he wants to do? But
like it changes. So in my opinion, anyways, and I could be wrong, but in my opinion, if it's not Caleb Williams, then you're trading out of one, because you can draft a different quarterback at 2. You can
trade both,
back at 3. Like, you're going to trade both. You're going to trade if you go into this draft, you say, okay, Jaden Daniels is the guy. JJ McCarthy is our guy. Bo Nix is our guy. Whoever. If it's one of those guys, then, well, you're not taking them at 1.
Yeah.
Some of those you're not even taking in the top 3. Like, it changes where you're going to draft. So doesn't that, like, if you've already, okay, we're not going to go with Justin Fields, but it doesn't mean we're going to go with Caleb Williams. So if it's not, maybe they both get traded. Maybe we see the trade back to 5 or wherever, 6. Maybe the Giants want to move up and get Caleb Williams. So maybe you move back to 6 and you're going to take one of those quarterbacks, but you're waiting to see what happens between 1 and 6 to what you're going to do with Justin. Is it maybe Justin gets traded after the draft or during the draft even? Like, I just feel like because he hasn't rushed into it, like, it's very Ryan Poles to take his time and decide, okay, well, I'm going to move on from Justin, but it doesn't have to be right now.
Yeah. The only way I see Justin, like, to me, like I said, I believe that his mind has been up about Justin, but like you said, maybe it's not Caleb. If that's the case, then you're going to trade both. But it's if you keep Justin Fields, like, let's just say you decide to keep him and draft a guy like JJ McCarthy, but if you keep Justin Fields, I mean, you're still setting up your quarterback room for a weird dynamic, because you're telling Justin you believe him enough to keep him, but not enough to make him your man, and his 5th-year option. So you're going to decline it. I mean, that hurts the ego for a professional quarterback. I mean, so it's like, if you're going to keep him, I think you got to keep him. You got to pay him, and the going rate for a quarterback, even at his levels, you're talking, $40 million a year, and I can't see the Bears ready to kind of pay that kind of money, because I don't think they think he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
So I know I told you about 15 minutes. I got one more for you, Lester. Now, what is it? What do you think ultimately ends up happening? Do you think they end up not being able to move Justin till next season starts and hope that there's an injury, or do you think they move him before the draft? What do you think is going to happen?
Everything's kind of been hold. I mean, the quarterback market was so weird this year. I mean, Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta, the Bucks. I mean, just the way the backups kind of went off the board. Seattle committed to Geno Smith. It's like this has been a very strange group of quarterbacks. I mean, the Giants, you have Daniel Jones. They don't like him, but they signed Drew Lock, and they said they're going to let him compete for the starting job. So it's like it's just a weird quarterback situation this year. I think it's just bad timing for the Bears part. I think they'll ultimately trade him, and I think they're ultimately going to draft Caleb Williams if the medicals check out and they have their meeting with him and everything's fine, because he's been the consensus top quarterback on most boards for a couple of years now. And it just seems like if you're going to reset the quarterback clock, so to speak, he'd be the guy to do it with. But again, I'm a fan of Fields. I want it to work out for him. I just don't see it happening in Chicago.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's always interesting as a Bears fan to see what they end up doing ultimately. But the last 2 off seasons have been it's been really something, with the Bears being the focal point of the NFL both these last 2 off seasons. So Lester, I want to thank you for jumping on with us, man. If you want to go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you.
WindyCityGridiron.com. Our video stuff is at Second City Gridiron. Our podcast stuff's on Windy City Gridiron too. But and I'm on Twitter at WiltFongJR. Still Twitter, right? We still call it Twitter?
I call it Twitter,
but
I'm old. So
there you go. Old school. Keep it.
Nice. But all right, Lester, thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on with us.
Anytime, fellas. Have a good one.
You too, man. All right. Well, it's always it just, to me, this whole thing has just been, it's been so like one direction and then a completely different direction, where like before the season ended, it was, oh, well, look at Justin and the progress that he's making. After the injury, he came back, he was protecting the ball better. He was playing smarter, better football. And then all of a sudden, now January hits and Justin Fields is out of Chicago. What are your thoughts on that, Turtle? We've talked plenty ad nauseum at this point about this quarterback situation, but do you think that, like I said with Les, do you think that this is a potential smokescreen and that the Bears are going to be looking to trade that number 1 overall pick? Or Turtle is frozen. So, Turtle's frozen. So we will take a short 30-second break and we'll be right back.
I'm undefeated. I came to fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable. That's why I'm undefeated. Off the leash, out of the cage, an animal. That's why I'm undefeated. I know I can beat it. Won't give up, 'cause I believe it. Fight for the love of the game. Unstoppable. That's right. I'm undefeated.
Hey, Turtle, welcome back, man.
Dude, that was the weirdest thing. At first, I thought it was your internet. And then all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh wait, it's mine." And then it was like, "You have no internet." And it was like, "Oh, your internet's been restored." I'm like, "Well, that was quick."
Yeah, I mean, I think I handled that like a champ. Hey, 30-second, let me get my boy back. But
So I was saying that it's kind of a weird dynamic. Like, I think for me, the big glaring thing, the elephant in the room, Washington and New England don't have a quarterback.
Yep.
So Washington, yeah, they signed Marcus Mariota, okay, but they traded Sam Howell, so that he's no longer an option.
And what did they get for him?
So they got nothing. They traded. Where is it? Hold on. Somebody just sent it.
I got it right here.
They basically got 2 pick swaps. Like they upgraded 2 picks.
So Seattle received Howell in a 4th-round pick and a 6th-round pick in exchange for a 3rd-round pick, a 5th-round pick. Yeah.
So they upgraded their 4 to a 3rd, their 6 to a 5th, and they lost Howell.
Right. So now they don't have a quarterback either.
So
we talked in the chat.
Quarterback, right?
Right. We talked in the chat earlier when I think you put that in the group chat. We talked about, well, is that the 3rd round pick that Washington's going to be like, hey, Chicago, here's a 3rd round pick. Send us Justin Fields.
Well, okay. And then you look at New England. They traded Mac Jones to Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have no quarterback. I know they signed Jacoby Brissett, but we all know he's not a starting quarterback in this league. So both of those teams, they pick 2nd and 3rd. If it's kind of twofold, right? I have 2 different scenarios for the way this goes. One, either of those teams could trade for Justin Fields. If they call Ryan Poles right now and said, hey, I have a 3rd round pick that I'll give you, a top 3 pick in the 3rd round for Justin Fields, Ryan Poles is going to drive Justin Fields to their team's facility the next day. So now you draft Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2 or 3, whichever team is the one that trades for Fields, and you pair him with Justin Fields. So if you're New England, you draft Harrison 3rd, and you have Justin Fields. And if you are Washington, you do the same thing at 2. Now, if you're the Bears, what if you take Justin Fields? Because if they take Caleb Williams 1, everybody's already like, well, at 9 they're going to take Odunze, they're going to take Neighbors, whatever. What if they took the 9th pick in Fields and traded up to 2 or 3 and took Caleb Williams and then Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Oh my God, that would be insane.
So now, like, you're saying, well, yeah, like if you're Washington, no, we don't really want to move from 2 to 9 because we need our quarterback. Oh, wait, but I could get Justin Fields and still have the 9th pick? Cool, I'm game. Let's do it.
You don't think it would cost a little bit more than Fields in that pick?
Probably would cost more, but I don't think it would cost a lot more. Especially because if you're those teams, what if you only really like Caleb Williams?
Right.
Like, what if you're not sold on Drake May or Daniels or McCarthy? I don't think anybody sees Bo Nix going that high. Like, what if you're just not sold on any of the other quarterbacks? And now you're like, okay, well, I'm Washington. I traded Sam Howell. I need a quarterback. I could go with Justin Fields and I still get my 9th pick. Like, I don't know. It seems like Ryan Poles is too well, methodical at what he does. Like, and cerebral. Like, it just doesn't seem like Ryan Poles is going to get in a situation where it's like, oh, well, shucks, we got stuck with Justin Fields. What do I do with him now? Like, he hasn't made a play at the receivers. He hasn't made a play at some of these guys. Like, there has to be more. Like, I just feel like he's too good at what he does to not have a plan.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week. Where we believe that Poles has done a good job the last 2 off seasons, right? He might have made a mistake with the Claypool trade.
Not might have.
But he may, yeah, that's true. Not might have. But he made up for it by getting rid of him and then recouping a couple draft picks with the Roquan thing. What I feel like. Well, I mean, we're Chicago sports fans and Bears fans at that, and there's no quarterback history for this team that are really showing that the Bears know how to do it. So maybe that's why we're always just kind of on edge when it comes to this position. But I feel like whatever Poles decides, Caleb or Justin or somebody else, do you think that we just kind of have to blind faith hope that that's the right call? Because I'm not sure, man. Like, I've always been on the side of keep Justin, trade that number 1 pick, draft a quarterback a little bit later in the draft. But, now I'm kind of swaying to the other side.
Well, and I think it's tough, because there's just so many unknowns.
Right.
Like, so put yourself in the GM spot, right?
Yeah. You're
going to look at this job and you're going to say, okay, who's the quarterback for the Bears? Let me rank the quarterbacks. And let's just, for argument's sake, say this is what Ryan Poles is doing. Well, as of right now, I like Caleb Williams, then Justin Fields, then Drake May, Jaden Daniels, JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix in that order. You go see Caleb Williams at his pro day and you meet with him. Maybe you're not as into Caleb Williams as you thought you were. Now you say, well, I don't think it's Caleb Williams, but I like Justin Fields more than I like any of the other quarterbacks in this draft. So you say, okay, well, I'm going to stay with Justin Fields, so I'm not going to trade him until I know that I like Caleb Williams more than Justin Fields.
Right.
Like especially because like everything with Caleb Williams is so much different than every other prospect, every other player that's ever come through the draft. Never have we seen a player try to not sign a rookie deal, not try to sign a collective bargaining agreement, not release his medicals, push back meetings with teams, refuse to meet with teams, say, well, you can meet with me after my pro day. Like, never have we seen those things. So that all just adds more dirt to the water, right? Like,
right.
Think about the crystal clear water and then the murky, dark water. Well, every time something like this comes up, it just makes the water that much harder to see through. So maybe he just wants to know, I'm going to hold on to Justin because I like him more than anybody else in this draft. So I'm going to hold on to him until I know that Caleb Williams is my guy. Because if he's not, well, I already know I like Justin Fields more than the other guys.
Right.
Then it becomes, okay, well, I'm going to move that pick. But am I going to move that pick and roll with Justin? Am I going to move that pick and take a quarterback later? You know, so it's all those unknowns. And as Bears fans, we're so used to getting it wrong that we just automatically assume that, well, Christian Wilkins went to Vegas. He didn't come to the Bears. Ryan Poles screwed that up. Calvin Ridley went to Tennessee. Well, Ryan Poles screwed that up. There's just, you know, we've seen the way Ryan Poles builds this team. I think he went up to DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift's 25 years old. Calvin Ridley's going to be 30. And he got paid a shit ton of money.
Yes, way too much.
So now, like, I just think Ryan Poles wants to be sure about guys he goes after. I think a lot of the moves are being slept on too. Like, a lot of people say, well, this and that. Like, the signing from, I'm forgetting his name, but the kid from the Rams.
Coleman Shelton.
Yes, him. He started 30 games over the last 2 seasons for the LA Rams and Sean McVay. Like, that's saying something. Like, that's not just some bum that was out of work because nobody wanted him.
Right.
So, like, between him and the guy they traded for from Buffalo, you have to figure one of them is going to be the center. So
yeah, without a doubt.
That spot is now not a need because you have 2 guys that can fill it. If it's, you know, especially with Coleman, like, you figure it's going to be him. He started the games. Maybe the kid from Buffalo slides into right guard. And now you move Tevin Jenkins back to left guard. Now your line is starting to take shape. Now the line is not necessarily a need. So, like, these moves that he's making, they're not the moves that everybody wanted.
Right.
But the moves that the Bears need to make. Like, he's making good moves. Just because they're not getting the high-priced guys, to me, I'm just trying to stay patient, waiting for the whole, because none of this gets played out till after the draft. Like,
right.
We knew free agency was going to be the thing, but I think everybody, including myself, I think everybody thought, well, the Bears have all this money. They have these few needs. They're going to go get the highest paid dude and just pay him whatever they have to, and they're going to get him. But that's it's not the way professional sports works. Like I said,
no, and they've done a good job of managing the cap the last couple of years, and I think that we, like you said, as Bears fans, kind of hoped, okay, we have all this money, why not spend it? But also, like we talked with Lester, like, this crop of free agents wasn't anything really to, like, ride home about. Yeah, there's pieces that you can add to your team to make it better in certain areas. But there's no, like, superstar, like, instantly you bring him on the team and your team is instantly in the competition for the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? And usually that doesn't happen anyways unless it's a quarterback. But why spend money on guys? Like, look what Darnell Mooney got. right? We all agree that they kind of overpaid for Mooney, Atlanta. But with Cousins, do I think that they will see productivity from Darnell Mooney? Yeah, absolutely. Kirk Cousins, when he was in Minnesota, found the receivers. He didn't just stick with just Justin Jefferson. He went and he found different guys. Jordan Addison was one of his favorite targets throughout the season. The tight end was one of his favorite targets. So like that team, I think instantly is going to be a lot better with Kirk Cousins. But the Bears, I didn't see anybody out there in a spot of need that was going to be that big splash guy other than maybe Donnell Hunter.
I was just going to say the one guy I thought that Ryan Poles might have screwed up not getting was Danielle Hunter.
Yeah.
But then the report afterwards came out that he was offered a lot more money by Atlanta, maybe?
Yeah.
Was it Atlanta?
I think so.
But somebody offered him a lot more money, but he took less money to go to Houston. It's his hometown. He's from Houston. So he took less years and less money to go there. So it's not even – so then when you hear that, it's not even something where you can say, well, Ryan Poles didn't offer enough money because he just showed that he took less money to go to Houston. So I don't know. I just think that outside of Hunter, there wasn't a lot of pieces there. You know, Pittman, Evans, a lot of the receivers, they came off the board before free agency even started. The position with the most depth at free agency was running back.
Yeah.
And honestly, they got one of the best, and they got him at 25 years old, and they got him for way less money. Like Barkley's going to get a lot of money, and he went to Philadelphia. Like it's hard. Right. It's hard to compete with a team that's been in the Super Bowl and in the NFC Championship the last 2 years. So I think they're making good moves. I think they're moving in the right direction. I think we just have to be patient and see how the whole thing plays out.
Yeah, our guy Joey was just chilling in the backstage, so I thought, why not throw him on also just to chat with us for a little bit tonight. You know, I'm not completely sold on that the Bears are Caleb Williams or bust at this point. I think I see a scenario where you have 5 draft picks. You realize this team has more holes that you need filled. There is other quarterbacks in the draft that have better attributes in certain areas than Caleb Williams. Caleb also struggled this last year against top 25 defenses. So would it shock you if the Bears decided to go in a different direction other than Caleb Williams?
You know what I think, honestly? I honestly think the reason why we're still holding on to Caleb is because the Bears didn't talk to Mahomes. Like they didn't call him, they didn't go see him, they didn't go to his pro day, they didn't do anything like that. So I think Poles is like, okay, you know what? The Bears already made their mistake already huge with Mahomes. And look at Mahomes, an elite quarterback. He's been the champions back to back and all that. So I think the thing is, like, I think he's holding on to Caleb. I think he has an idea who his quarterback is. And I do 100% think it's Justin Fields, but he doesn't. He's not going to go and make the same mistake twice. Where, all right, you know what? I'm just passing up on Caleb. And again, what Vince said, how we never had someone not want to give up his information, like, and they want part ownership or want all these things. It's like, okay, first of all, you're a kid. You don't even know if you're gonna be anything great in the NFL, but you're over here doing this, and that. Like, but again, they're not gonna just shut him completely out. Do I think Poles has a backup plan? 100%. Do I think Poles the Bears are gonna draft another quarterback in this draft? Absolutely. But I think it's like they're still like he's playing it smart. He's gonna go to pro day. He's gonna see if he's worth it, and then you're gonna go from there. I mean, I don't think we're gonna find out what's gonna happen until I honestly believe probably a few minutes before we have to make a pick.
Sorry, my son is awake still, texting me, asking me a question. That's the only. Turtle just texted me. He's like, "You look so interested." Angelo's texted me. He had a question real quick. So, but yeah, I agree. The narrative that like, oh, the Bears missed on this guy and missed on that guy. I don't like that thought because one, Poles wasn't the GM when they missed on Patrick Mahomes, so he has zero connection to that process. And then we all knew that they weren't going to take a quarterback last year, regardless of who it was, because they wanted to give Justin that opportunity. So all these people, like I was watching ESPN earlier today, and they're like, "Oh well, the Bears missed out on CJ Stroud because they thought Justin was the guy." No, they didn't think Justin was the guy. They didn't take CJ Stroud because they wanted to give Justin the opportunity to show what he could do with a number one wide receiver. And if you look at that number one wide receiver, it was a good connection between Justin and DJ Moore.
Ryan Poles was playing the long game, right? Like, don't forget, we're only where we're at now because they made that trade last year.
Right.
100% too, but you also got to think, Poles, what was the biggest need for us was the offensive line. And look what happened. In my opinion, I think we got one of the best offensive linemen in the draft last year, and that's right.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
He's had a phenomenal year. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people criticize Wright so much. I remember last year. Wright's not going to be it. Why would you take him? Why would you not go and get that that other kid for, I think it was Notre Dame, I believe. I can't think of his name.
From Ohio State.
Yeah, him too. And not once have you heard about them throughout the season. But Wright, he was mentioned multiple times by Adam Schefter and other analysts and all that. Like, that's the thing. Like, Poles has went out and got the biggest needs. Fields wasn't quarterback. Justin, the quarterback, wasn't the biggest need at the point at that situation right there and then. But now it's like, okay, well, here we are. Justin, he has improved, but he hasn't gotten to where we expect from him. But let's just go out there and look, because like Turtle said, there's other quarterbacks. If we don't take Williams, Caleb and all that, it's not the end of the world for us. There is, Nix, there is, Daniels or May. There's all those different guys, which I believe if we were to trade that first overall pick, we would be able to address more than just one need. That's a quarterback. That's another pass rusher. That's another target receiver. Like, I'm not sold on Caleb. Do I want him? Do I wish to hope for him to come for the best from 100%? I would love for him to come out, show out, and win us some games, especially against the Packers. But again, right now, I'm again, the way what Caleb wants and how he's acting towards a lot of things, it throws a lot of red flags in my head.
My thought process is, if you watched all these quarterbacks last year, and Turtle, I know you're a big college football guy, is there that big of a significant drop from just last season, watching these quarterbacks from Caleb Williams to these other guys?
I mean, so college football is weird. Like, a lot of guys, they go, and depending where they play, like, they're in offenses and they play for teams that they're supposed to put up big numbers.
Right.
Like, it doesn't necessarily translate to the NFL. They throw in windows that don't exist in the NFL. Everybody's fast.
Oh, hold on. Breaking news.
My thing just went off, too.
The Bears have traded for Keenan Allen from the Chargers for a fourth rounder goes back to them. Okay. So now they lost another pick, but they did fill a need that they had.
I mean, but now you just got a stud receiver.
Right. And a big body receiver.
It's funny because when I was driving home from work, I was talking to my dad, and I was like, man, I really thought San Diego. I really thought the LA Chargers were going to make some sort of move. I thought they were going to move Mack or Bosa or Allen. I'm really surprised that just Mike Williams was the only one to go. Now you see, Keenan Allen. Now you've got an older receiver. He's a veteran receiver, but he's a guy. He's a 100-ball guy. So now you have a legitimate 1 and 1A, or 1 and 1B, whatever you call it.
If he could stay healthy.
Man,
with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
So now you just took another need off your list, because now if you don't get a receiver at 9, you don't need to. You've got Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. So it's a really interesting move, because would you trade a 4th round pick for Keenan Allen and then use your 9th overall pick for a receiver? Probably not.
Right.
Because you don't have that many picks. So to give one up means that, okay, well, now I don't have to address it in the draft.
Does that mean you think they go edge rush in the draft at that number 9 spot? Because that's what a lot of mocks have the Bears doing.
Do you honestly want to know what I think it means more than anything?
Yes.
I think it means they're going Caleb Williams at 1.
Yeah.
Because you're not looking at Marvin Harrison Jr. if you just traded for Keenan Allen. You're not looking at Malik Neighbors. You're not looking at Roma Dunze. You're not looking at any of those guys if you just gave up one of your only 5 draft picks. Well, let's put it this way. One of your only 3 non-first round draft picks you just gave up for a receiver. So now that tells me, okay, receiver is done. That's not a need anymore. So now if you were going to stay with Justin, you probably would try to get more weapons. I just think you go 1, you go Caleb Williams, and now at 9, it's got to be an edge. Because unless you get a Chase Young and then you go 3 technique at 9, but I just see that move has to be defense now at 9.
Yeah, and like now that I think about this move, it does kind of say that. Like I agree with you that I feel like Caleb is the guy. It does kind of sting though, because I think personally, this one of these wide receivers ends up being one of the best players out of this draft. Just by the what I've heard, what I've read, Roma Dunze, Malik Neighbors, there's talks of these guys being, some of the best talented wide receivers that are going to come into the league. And obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., he's been touted as the best wide receiver all year, but yeah, that's a surprise. I was not expecting a trade for a wide receiver to pop up on my phone. I mean,
so when you look at it, like you only had 5 picks and you gave up one of them. Yeah, that sucks. But you just went again. Ryan Poles just went out and got a guy that wasn't available let me rephrase. He got a elite player at a position that was not available. Right? Like there wasn't many in free agency. The ones that were there went. We had somebody earlier in the chat say about Curtis Samuel and some of these guys. Like there were role players available. DJ Chark, Curtis Samuel, these Gabe Davis, these guys that people aren't sure about. But yet, Keenan Allen, no one's unsure about Keenan Allen.
Right.
Like Keenan Allen is a stud. Like 100 catch a year, 1,000-yard receiver across the field from another 100 catch a year, 1,000-yard receiver. Like think about it. When have the Bears ever had that kind of wide receiver duo?
Right.
Like, before that, your best wide receiver duo was what? I don't even know. It would be
Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey.
No, yeah, Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, I mean, I just think
somebody. Allen is the perfect security blanket for Caleb and Fields. He is a big body receiver. He played that role in Los Angeles. My only concern is he does have a tendency to get injured, and not like major injuries, but these little nicks that he misses 4 games here, 6 games here, and he is a little bit on the older side, right? How old is he?
He's probably got to be coming up on 30.
Let's see, Keenan Allen. I'll look
29.
him up right now. He is 31, right? So I mean, you just traded a 4th round pick, and I get it for the productivity that you're hoping for. He had last season, he had 108 receptions for 1,243. That's not bad. 7 touchdowns. So, I mean,
4 minutes ago, Ian Rappaport, the Chargers approached star wide receiver Keenan Allen about a pay cut today, which he then declined. The team has now dealt him to the Chicago Bears, who continue to load up. A wild offseason in Chicago.
Now, that is to me the biggest acquisition of the offseason so far.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
look at the offense now. You've got DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett, and you added DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
Like, you can look there and say, okay, DJ Moore is a stud.
Yep.
Keenan Allen is a stud. Cole Kmet had a stud year last year, so you'd like to think he's growing into that kind of role. DeAndre Swift, he was a stud in Detroit. Like, they have elite players all over the offense now.
Right.
The
Now,
Bears
but do you see this as a situation, man? Like I said, he's older. So I still think you should add depth at that wide receiver spot, especially because
But don't forget, you're bringing him in at wide receiver 2. He's not your wide receiver 1. He's your wide receiver 2. Look at around the NFL. Who has a better 1-2 at wide receiver than DJ Moore and Keenan Allen?
The Eagles.
I mean, you definitely have a lot of experience in that.
Who do the Eagles have? A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith?
Yeah.
I'll take Keenan Allen over Devontae Smith.
I would too. Devontae Smith had a rough year last year.
When you're talking just pure skill, I'm not talking about age. I'm not talking about anything else. Just pure skill.
Pure
maybe
skill,
you're right. The Vikings, maybe.
Who's their number 2?
I don't know. I thought Jordan Addison had a really good season last year. But
He did have one good year.
Right, that's true. The Bengals, maybe.
But he was also competing with Osborne.
I'm just wait, more breaking news?
I don't know if that's more breaking news. My phone died, so I'm not getting anything right now. But if there is more breaking news, Mike, we would definitely. Oh no, it's the Keenan Allen stuff. But yeah, I mean, So how old is DJ Moore?
28.
28. So I mean, your wide receivers are on the older side. Or no, he's only 26. He's 26, so he's still pretty young.
All I'm saying is, you look around the NFL, the best offenses. Not really many teams have 2 number 1 receivers.
Right. I mean, you instantly upgraded from Darnell Mooney.
Number 1 receivers.
Right. Keenan Allen is a huge upgrade from Darnell Mooney, without a doubt. He plays more physical. He's definitely a bigger end zone threat than Darnell Mooney was. You know, hold on, we got a comment right
You know
here.
what? I even would. I mean, to me, Keenan Allen's right there with Stephon Diggs. He might even be better than Stephon.
I think he's better than Stephon Diggs. I think Diggs had terrible years.
You're going to take over him are Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And you're asking him to come to your team and be a number 2? Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some guys that we're kind of missing.
Who?
But
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb.
I would take CeeDee Lamb over him.
That's
not it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big list if there is a list.
And those are guys that you're talking about at number 1 receivers. Like you still have DJ Moore. Like
so you
literally cannot double team them both.
You think that takes them out of play for a wide receiver in the first round?
Oh yeah, good call, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Good call. Yeah, to me it has to. Like,
hold on, there's a rumor right here. Patriots are seriously considering trading Justin Fields. They have a number 3 pick in the draft, but are in love with 2 of the 3 prospects.
Like that's what I said earlier. Like, what if you really, really like Caleb Williams, but you don't like the other quarterbacks?
Right.
And you're Washington or New England.
So I had that thought, like, okay, so this was before we found out that Fields' value is probably not going to yield you a second-round pick. I was thinking, okay, well, what if you are New England, right? And you're like, hey, Chicago, here's our second-round pick. We want Justin Fields. And then you turn around and use that first-round pick on a Marvin Harrison Jr. And you're instantly upgrading your offense a ton if you do that.
So do you want – okay. I'm just going to blow all your minds right now. What if they don't take Caleb Williams? They trade back to 2 or 3. They take Marvin Harrison Jr. You now have Justin Fields with Marvin Harrison Jr., Keenan Allen, and DJ Moore.
Sounds sexy.
Cole Kmet over here.
Sounds really sexy.
The only thing so playing devil's advocate, it's because what I like to do. Yeah. Justin did have a tough time getting through his reads, and he really zeroed in on DJ Moore. Now, playing devil's advocate to my own argument, I don't think he trusted any of the other wide receivers on that team last year.
Yeah, I didn't trust any of the other receivers on that team either. But you want my meathead take? They're gonna not take Caleb Williams because Keenan Allen and Caleb Williams both wear 13.
Hey, that's it. You heard.
No, I'm just kidding. I think they're great moves to make, and then you look at it and you go, okay, well, what's going to put us over the top? Caleb Williams is going to put you over the top. put Caleb Williams in an offense with all these pieces.
Yeah, but then it's like, okay, you go and you trade that pick, so you get the second or third. You go and you take Marvin Harris, you take Harrison, and then you take that tackle hopefully from Penn State. You got to put it all in.
I don't think you make these moves without already knowing what you're doing over here.
Right.
So
they know the quarterbacks. They know the quarterback situation.
I think everybody's known the quarterback situation. It's kind of like I say when watching the Super Bowl, who was the best player on the field? It was Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Who was the best team on the field that day? It was San Francisco.
Right.
But Patrick Mahomes just was better.
Right.
You look at Justin Fields, you know he's not that guy.
Right.
See, and Williams,
that when you said that on the show, a month ago?
Right.
That's what really I was like, damn, that's actually a really good point. Like, we've watched Justin, and yes, there have been the flashes with Justin. He's been able to do those wild plays that, oh, wait, look at that throw, man. Like, if he could do that consistently, but he hasn't been able to do it consistently.
Yeah,
I think you look at a Caleb Williams and you're like, it's a sexy idea to have Caleb be a Patrick Mahomes and now, okay, cool. We got our guy. This is going to be the guy that we're going to go to bat against the Packers, who we haven't been able to beat, the Vikings, the Lions, who are going to be a powerhouse in the North next year. And if he lives up to the hype, that's a huge if, because a lot of first round number one picks at quarterback don't. But if he lives up to that hype, then you're looking at a situation where, you might have a top 3 quarterback in the NFL for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I just think you'd have to see something really, really, really wrong at his pro day or in the meetings with him to not take him one. Like, you did all this to put yourself in the position to get a generational talent, and for everything everyone's told you, that's who this kid is.
Right.
You've heard, like, all the kidding aside, like, we like to make jokes, we like to have fun on here. The no-brainer is Caleb Williams. Like, he's the no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like, when they didn't take Patrick Mahomes, most of the people didn't say they should take Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Most people had Trubisky as the number one guy. They had Watson as the number one guy. Everybody has Caleb Williams as the number one guy. Like, and it's such a far drop off to everybody else. Like, it goes back to what I said earlier. I just don't see how you have any other quarterbacks in this draft ahead of Justin Fields. Like, I haven't seen them do enough where I'm like, oh, well, this guy's the guy. Like,
right. And I was listening to ESPN 1000 this morning, and they were talking about how all of these quarterbacks are better than Justin Fields.
Well, because it's kind of like that roller coaster, right? Like, we all love sports.
Right.
The guys that get paid to talk sports, sometimes I don't feel like they're that as knowledgeable, or whatever the word is, knowledgeable. I just don't think they're that good at what they do. So everybody, when the media came out and said Justin Fields, you may get a first-round pick for him, everybody that talks sports for a living was like, oh, the Bears should trade Justin Fields, and he's the best player in the world. Like, maybe they shouldn't trade him. He's so good. Everybody wants him. Now supposedly nobody wants him. And all those same people now are like, well, I would take Bo Nix over Justin Fields. I would take Jaden Daniels over Justin Fields. I'd take this guy. Like, I just feel like the narrative changes too much.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to say, okay, Michael Penix, he's who they should get. Like, to me, it's either Caleb Williams or Justin Fields. I don't see anybody else the Bears would take in that spot. And I think you make these moves, you're setting yourself up, go get the generational quarterback, give him all the weapons he needs, and let's go win some football games.
Yeah, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall at this point. I think unless it's the biggest swerve, like we talked about a little bit earlier with Lester,
right?
I think Caleb is going to be the quarterback this coming year. and you are loading up on an offense to try to give him all the opportunity to succeed right away. Because I think this team, Ryan Poles knows that this decision is such a big decision that he and Matt need to see success right away.
Well, and I think the previous regime we all talked about, it was very close to the vest, not talk about anything, not give away any information. That's not Ryan Poles. Like, Ryan Poles tells you exactly what he's thinking and exactly what his plan is. He told you, for the first time in my tenure with the Bears, I go into an offseason, I feel like we have now built the foundation. We're above that sea level, where now we're building on to what we've already built. We're at Hollywood Brown signing with the Chiefs. Yo, if they go get Hollywood Brown and Mike Williams, yo. Anyway.
I mean, I think the Chiefs are serious about trying to do this 3-peat.
Well, I mean, you knew they needed a receiver. It wasn't all rose petals, even though they won the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes just wouldn't lose. But anyway, I just think, like Ryan Poles said,
he said, I called that shit.
Like Ryan Poles said, okay, I finally feel like we're able to build on to what we already have to compete.
Right.
And what is he doing? He's getting you pieces to compete.
Right.
Like, he did.
And you're looking at a team that should have realistically had 10 wins last season.
Right. So now,
so you're.
Oh, where were they lacking? The quarterback position.
Scoring. Yeah, scoring.
Like, when Justin was out there, fourth quarter was not his best time.
That is a fact. That is a factual statement that his fourth quarter, he is not clutch. He does not have that clutch.
He came in, look, not an NFL quarterback.
Right.
So you've already, like, if you just watch the Bears and you see who they are, you already know Justin's not that guy.
Right.
So then go get the guy that could be.
Right.
Go get the guy that could be one of the best ever.
Right. And my thought, I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, if Justin leaves, I'm going to follow Justin and I'm going to root against Caleb. And I think that's a weird notion, because, like, I love the Bears. I want the Bears to win.
Absolutely.
Whether that's with Justin or with Caleb. And do I think Justin's a good dude? Absolutely. The whole thing about me wanting Fields to stay isn't because I'm like, oh, well, if it's Justin or bust. It's because I always thought you'd get more from the first round pick than getting rid of Justin would give you.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If Justin, I'm trying to figure out how I want to word this. If Justin Fields lived up to his entire ceiling, entire potential, you're looking at what? Lamar Jackson?
Yeah. Basically, that's what a lot of people.
Lamar Jackson, two-time MVP, very tough to defend, scores a lot of touchdowns, does a lot of things. Every year, okay, not every year, minus not this past year, but the year before that, when the receivers had 11 drops. Other than that game, every time Baltimore's lost in the playoffs, Lamar Jackson has played horrible.
Yeah, that's true.
So I love the Bears. I love how exciting Justin Fields is to watch. I love when he breaks you think he's sacked and all of a sudden he takes it 45 yards for a touchdown. That is super fun to watch.
Right.
It's super exciting to see. It is not sustainable.
Winning games.
Right.
You'll win games that way, but it's not sustainable. That's not how you
win.
Well,
and he's proved that. He can't stay healthy.
Like, you don't win in this league that way.
Right.
Because eventually, whether it's in the regular season or whatever, eventually you get to the playoffs and the defenses get better. The field feels like it gets smaller. The guys get faster. You face better teams, and they know how to keep you in the pocket.
Right. And you have to deliver that ball
like
where it needs to be. And Justin just hasn't seemed to be able to do that consistently enough.
It's because it's not his game.
Right.
Like, everything, everyone who comes on and they talk about the Bears and how the Bears haven't done this for Justin Fields and the Bears haven't done that, and they should roll him out more and they should get him on the edge and Let him freelance. That's not how you win football games. You win football games, you win championships by getting a quarterback who's better than everybody else.
Right.
You win championships by getting having the best player on the field. Not the best player on your team. The best player on the field is your quarterback. That's how you win football games. Look at the Chiefs. They had no business being in the Super Bowl. They had no business winning the Super Bowl, except for the fact that Patrick Mahomes is that guy.
Right.
He's that dude, and there's nobody in the league that has figured out how to stop him.
Yep.
Justin is not that guy. He never will be that guy. He will forever be the fun, really exciting, flashy dude that goes 500, wins a few games, makes a few guys miss, and turns the ball over when you need it, when you can't have it.
Yeah, he does have a tendency to do that a lot.
Because guys like that, they press.
Right.
They get into the fourth quarter and they're like, oh my God, I can't screw up. I can't do this. I have to do this. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, guys like that, they get in the fourth quarter and they're like, meh, it's just like it was in the first quarter.
Right.
Because then they know I can make whatever throw I have to, whenever I have to, wherever it is. And Justin just doesn't do that. He can't get the ball into those windows. He can't get the ball where it has to be. There's certain times in certain games where the ball has to be perfect, and Justin's not the guy I'm rolling with if I need a perfect ball.
Yeah, I agree.
Packers suck.
Packers suck. I brought that drop from the Out of Hibernation show because I just loved it so much. But
it is. It's the best one you have.
It is the best one. So I'm gonna call it here tonight, guys. We had a good show. Joey, I appreciate you coming on. Lester came on and gave us a lot of good nuggets. Turtle, it's always great talking Bears with you, man. I feel like it's just we could go on for probably another 6 hours if we wanted to. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. We had a lot of conversation in the chat tonight and a lot of people watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you go head to YouTube, follow on Facebook, Undefeated Sports Network. You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever you want, down here in the little right-hand side of the screen. It's got all of our information right there. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back next week with some more shows. Stay tuned for our WrestleMania preview show that's going to be coming up. And we'll talk to you next week.